Okay, so you are in charge of the school system. What do we dump, and what do we add to make kids smarter and more well-rounded? Dump tying funding to standardized testing. Bring back recess, art, and music classes. I'm a middle school music teacher. Our students have to take a standardized test in music. My school has all of the above. Recess, art classes, music classes, and standardized tests. Bring back nap time for little kids so they can learn more when they are rested. Dump most standardized tests so it's a waste of time. Bring back nap time for all underscore the kids. I just want a nap, let's be honest. Indeed, I regret not actually napping during nap time in pre-K. Bring back nap time for everyone. Hello Mr. Ming? Yeah, sorry, the board is unavailable at the moment. Nap time. Bring back nap time for the teachers. Unfortunately that's called lunch. Dump excessive homework that subtracts value from the student's life outside of school, not all homework, and add more work experience related things, rather than spending more time learning stuff you'll never use. Yeah, in grade school the amount of homework was beyond excessive and always graded for completion. If you can do 10 to 20 math problems correctly then you understand the concept. There's no point in making them do 100. Yeah, that's why I didn't worry about homework if I understood the concepts, cause homework is such a small part of your grade, so I'd rather do more important stuff. There were a couple teachers I had that would guilt you if you didn't do your homework, which I didn't mind because they were just trying to look out for us to make sure we did well in the class, but it was annoying to waste time doing that homework. Agreed, up to a certain grade you really don't need it, but for growing kids it shows responsibility, and it practices techniques taught in the classroom along with practicing their writing, reading, and essential skills that need to be repeated in order to be learned. Homework. It has little to no impact on academic success, and blocks activities, such as social playtime with other kids, early bedtimes, quality family time, activities which do correlate with academic success. I'm not a huge fan of homework, but if you don't learn how to get it done there is no way you're going to make it in college. Homework should be meaningful, but kids need to learn some time management and study skills. Homework and studying are essentially the same thing. You will never graduate medical school or any other school like that if you can't go home and sit for hours learning your subject, just you and the books. But assignment homework is culturally biased against families that don't value education, so it should be eliminated for all students. That is literally the push in my district. At the high school level, dump teachers who just want to be friends with their students, and give easier than add teachers who actually have rigorous classes with skillfully constructed and engaging lessons. I don't think we should dump them. They have a place, they just should only teach certain classes. My band teacher gets to know the students. He's the one who figured out I was feeling suicidal. Mental health is a concern, and if we cut those teachers, those positive role models, the teachers who keep students wanting to be here, bad things will happen. But a teacher doesn't have to be bad at their job to be kind to his or her students. The teacher that I confide in more than any other also happens to have the most rigorous classes at my school by a large margin. Very high expectations in that class, yet she also is someone I trust very much and can be open with. She really cares about the whole student, oh that is, intellectually and emotionally. We can start by failing kids again. We do fail kids. However, decades of education research already showed that holding them back just made for more dropouts and worse outcomes overall. Students do better on the whole if you keep them with other kids their age. When a kid fails, it's better to keep them with their cohort and try to remediate their missing skills with extra help. Perhaps some kids are destined to be dropouts. More importantly, forcibly passing an idiot brings the entire class down. No child left behind also means no child gets ahead. If the future class has to pander and repeat and teach at the level of the dumbest kid in the class, keeping that kid out of the class makes everyone else have a better education. I know this is controversial, but I'm of the opinion we shouldn't be punishing our smarter kids by refusing to fail the dumber ones. I should've skipped 1, maybe 2 grades. Instead was held back to be with my own age. Took me until grade 11 to get out of the funk that caused. Dump the processed garbage lunch based around dusty goals and feed the kids a healthy, well-rounded lunch. Dump the frivolous administrators and add more well-trained counselors to help the kids with mental health issues. Dump the coaches who don't know a subject well enough to teach it, but remain on staff as a teacher because they are a coach. Add teachers who are proficient in their subject area. Dump useless senior year blow-off electives like office aid, and add more technical vocational training electives. Those blow-off electives are there for kids who have failed their necessary classes without holding them back. If you are able to be an office aide, that just means you have met your requirements and good for you. There are some people that need those non-required classes to retake classes. Good lord, give them arts and humanities. So much of the bad stuff that manifests itself in schools is outside factors that are beyond the school's control. You want a better school? Create a better society that school sits in. Also important is having appropriate expectations for all students. Too many problems with instruction come down to teachers not expecting enough from their kids and not challenging them. I think that's why Lebron's Promise School is doing so well right now. Parents are heavily involved, and they have programs from them too. It's like a whole communal effort. Parents are heavily involved, there's your reason right there. Parental involvement is by far the best predictor of academic success. I would probably make the day shorter, allowing students to get more sleep, but make the school year longer. Have the students take classes that can help them, and offer more tutoring for the students that are struggling. School should last all year if you want kids to retain what they learn. They already do it in some Asian countries and those kids outperform us by a lot. I think shorter days, but year-long school would be interesting to try. You gotta realize that Asian countries also heavily prioritize education in their culture. You succeed or get dropped through the cracks. I dunno man. I'm a teacher in Japan and here there are no consequences for anything until high school. Literally have some kids who never do homework, sleep through class, hit teachers, and anything else you can think of. They get yelled at, but suspension or detention or anything else is not a thing. Still graduate at the end of the year the same as everyone else. Gardening. It teaches patience, care for life, and is a great opportunity for teaching a lot of important aspects of biology in a hands-on way. Most importantly though, it teaches people to respect how much effort and time goes into food production. Also gardening and landscaping can be very physically intensive and a very suitable substitute for PE, since not all kids are interested in sports or running in circles. I was gonna say the exact same thing. Food knowledge is lacking everywhere in the US population centers, and bringing up kids to know how food is made and grown is vital for both our environment and economy. It's also a great way to teach them core principles of work and study like due diligence, patience, and learning. Also it's an actually rewarding pastime that can be easily taught and learned, which can't be said for most topics, meaning it's a cheap thing to teach. My middle school had gardening, and it was a hit. Add critical thinking exercises. Ask them general questions about things and let them work out how to find the truth. This sort of fits under the old give a person a fish teach them to fish saying. Getting kids to memorize answers to pass a test does nothing for them in the future. Teaching them how to find answers goes a long way. Isn't this kind of the point of many parts of school? Don't you need to use critical thinking to get good grades? Where I live just raw knowledge isn't enough for the higher grades. Dump detention system. It doesn't work. Make students work study more as punishment. Also dump too many useless awards. Add job co-op or professional teaching. Prepare students to go to job markets obviously for students at later stages. Dump detention system. It doesn't work. Make students work study more as punishment. Here the problem with punishing anyone with more work or studying they associate working studying with punishment, which means it is something to avoid at all costs. Not really setting them up for success later in life. Source: my grandfather used work as punishment. Having work or studying as a punishment is a terrible idea. All that will do is create a negative mindset towards schoolwork and studying. I thought detention was just a thing in movies. I thought attention was only a thing in movies, haha. Add money management and financial responsibility. Interviewing skills. Resume writing tips. Drop hot cross buns on the recorder. Cursive. some of the extreme standardized testing. Instead, how about actual music classes? Replace hot cross buns with through the fire and flames. Hot cross buns is terrible, and that's from a person who could do it day one. Push the trades more. If the trades die, it's not going to be pretty. Recess for everybody. K-12. Also no more common core standards, and no more standardized testing. Where do you live that there are schools not giving recess? Dump competitive sports from schools. Kids want to compete and become professional athletes. They can go to Little League, Minor League, Pro, or specialty schools that are dedicated to produce top athletes. But keep that out of the school system. All sports are gone. Funding is switched into extra teachers and aides to help slower kids catch up. That's a bit extreme. I agree that too much emphasis is placed on sports to the detriment of academics, but taking away something the kids enjoy doing is not the way to go. Logic and formal proof. Just introducing a very structured way to reasoning would help. Man, my 3 to 400 range math and CS classes would be way nicer if I really had that stuff hammered into me from like 7th grade on. I would get rid of mandatory mass attendance and add a class focusing on current world events, such as a class focusing on what the United States has involved in the past 2 years. How about we also don't ask children to be at school at 7 AM when they should just be waking up? One of my biggest peeves with the school systems in the US. I would get rid of mandatory mass attendance. I would hazard to say you went to a Catholic grade high school. Did you have it daily then? I went to Catholic grade school, but we only had mass once a week. I did not attend a school that had mandatory mass, but I know several students who like the challenge of Catholic schools, but aren't Catholic themselves. Get rid of the entire substrate of administrators that exists between the school and the government, but never teaches a class or interacts with students or teachers. In my state, I bet you'd find that the bulk of the education budget goes to these sorts. Also, give teachers more autonomy and a huge raise. I'd start by making schools start at 10 AM rather than making kids get up at 6 AM. School start times currently exist mostly to accommodate parents' work schedules. If I have to be at work at 8 AM, I've got to drop my kid off at school by 7:30 AM to get there on time, which means he's probably got to get up around 6:30 AM at the latest anyway. What's he gonna do for that extra 2.5 hours before school starts? Might as well just start the school day. That way he can be done at 3 PM and still have a couple hours after school for extracurriculars, so then I can pick him up at 5 PM. I understand why schools start as early as they do, but kids are going to be so tired at that point that the first half of the day they won't be nearly as attentive as they can be. Op's question was about making kids smarter, not appealing to adults' work schedules. I think the larger problem here is the 9-to-5 or 8-to-4 work schedule in the first place. Introduce mindfulness mediation lessons. Try and have them be more like the schools in Norway. Start language immersion at a young age. Try to have students be bilingual by the end of primary education, then try to have students be trilingual by the end of secondary education. Lots of scientific studies support the theory that younger brains can learn languages quicker. We have things like computers and Khan Academy today. There's no good reason for students to all learn at the same pace. No matter what, some kids will be behind, and some will be held back. Education should be specialized for the child, and do it at their own pace. The teacher is just a really intelligent tutor who helps them with any questions. If a teacher is at all good at their job, then they are already differentiating their lessons to meet the varying needs of their students. And some will be very far ahead. Mandatory pass-fail courses in critical thinking, current events and life skills. Not everyone needs college. More options like trade schools, entrepreneurship or creative arts schools. Learn people skills like negotiation and conflict, anger management, public speaking, how to compromise and have good relationships, and basic child care. Learn how to cook healthy meals and basic fitness like strength training, cardio. Dump standardized testing, bring back shop and home ec, and make both mandatory. Kids should have basic repair and fabrication skills, and should also know how to cook healthy and budget their meals. Things to add or add back: home economics, budgeting, finances, taxes, etc. Cooking shop class music arts electives. Our parents got these key electives and now complain that our generation can't change a tire, or do our taxes, or cook our own meals without some phone app telling us. A well-rounded person knows how to take care of themselves in the modern world. A well-rounded person is also able to express themselves in more ways than just verbally, like through various art forms. Things to dump. Nothing. We don't need to subtract anything from the curriculum. We need to figure out better ways to teach. We need to figure out how to get these qualified teachers all the supplies they need to adequately teach. Dump religion, add critical thinking. Job done. D. Religion is like English with 90% more Jesus. Do whatever Finland is doing. I'm pretty sure they have the best education system. I might be wrong. I'm just working off of my memory. We dump highly paid superintendents and fund world-class school libraries. One is related to student achievement, the other is not. Every student should be required to take a learning trade test. Instead of putting them into class sets based on their score, they get put into class sets based on how they learn. More funding. For 1. Creative writing programs. Nap time for everyone later starts for high school. Probably just import Finland system. I don't know how it works, but I heard it's good. Well, you clearly didn't go to school in Finland. At least my autocorrect didn't. As someone who moved there, the hardest part to import would be that the disposition of the populace to education in general just seems way better. I think you need that guide Finland system too. Life skill classes. How to write a check, do taxes, etc. Also mentorship programs. Dump standardized testing. Add compulsory how to analyze information plus critical thinking and logic courses. This is not the age of memorization anymore. People are inundated with information that they don't understand. 1. Where it comes from. 2. How it is validated. 3. How to use it. So many problems would go away if people just understood how the scientific method works, because it's really not just specific to science. The idea of being able to critically think about what is true applies to just about everything. That first part of your ad section is basically what your history, English, and math classes should be doing. History and English are supposed to teach you how to critically analyze something, come up with an argument, and defend it. Math, in addition to the useful knowledge of learning it, is supposed to teach you how to solve problems with logic. The problem is that history and English are treated as memorize facts in many places, and math is done in a way to drive people towards being engineers. Drop a year or two of literature analysis, and add some current events and basic politics. More funding for arts. Cut the $2 million a year coach that's actually just a glorified schedule maker. Make kids attend school in hours that match a traditional work schedule. 7:45-5:00. Use that time to add more recess, art, and music. Most children are in daycare for at least those hours anyway. Parents will save money. Kids will have more constructive learning time and play time in their day. Everyone wins. 7:45-5 is a traditional work schedule. I do 7:30 to 3:30 with an hour lunch in there. Before I did 9 to 4. Well, no, traditional is 8 to 430 or 5 here in America. Add a subject for general knowledge and becoming an adult. Maybe skip the French language together with old literature. I do think kids should keep reading, just not those age-old boring ass books. What's wrong with French? Or learning any language? It gives one a totally different perspective to be able to think in a different set of words, plus you can always go to that nation and immerse yourself in that culture in a way you never could as a casual tourist. I lived in Germany for 8 years. Great experience. Lived in France of almost a year. Likewise. I think it's an experience everyone could benefit from, honestly. And the classics were some of the most inspiring books I have ever read and most fun. Hard to beat Vanity Fair or The Count of Monte Cristo. I'm from the Netherlands, where we have to learn English, German, French and optional Latin or Greek. We could easily get rid of French, since it's the only modern language I've had lessons in which I ever had to use. That's why that would be my go-to subject to drop. We need problem solvers and critical thinkers, not who can remember what they'll just forget in this short attention span reality we're living in, where you can literally look up almost anything. Tests will not just be written, but also include problems, where you have to apply practically one question reserved for truly creative problem solving, and another for testing one's ability with abstract thinking. Group projects all the time. Rise or fall as a group. Emphasis on STEM with a focus on problem solving. STEM with an emphasis on problem solving is good, but STEM and humanities should definitely be balanced without an emphasis on one or the other, or make the students choose the emphasis at least. We dump testing and score-based learning model where, if kids fall behind once, then they are more likely to stay behind. We add more classes early on to make sure kids not only have the tools to succeed, but also learn important skills, to make sure they can not only keep up, but catch up, if they fall behind. Things like study skills and practices, internet research skills, and how to navigate the internet and evaluate sources, as well as recognizing biases.